For all of 2017, Imported Support have pursuing the career of a pro gaming team. They've gotten to the Crucible twice now. Both times have been against Lag Force. They got shut down once, and now they're on the ropes once again. Jay, how do you think they can bring it back, and what kind of adjustments do they need to make?
Don't take team fights you don't need to take. You know, by the way, I got clarification. It was Liam Neeson in a movie that they call Given. So obviously they had given that game away. That's what it felt like, right? It's actually taken. But anyways, I feel like they did a lot right the last few games. They seem more comfortable.
Yeah.
But then when you get a lead sometimes, Sky Temple is tricky in that, and I talked about boss control, even camp control at that point between the holy ground. It's like you get angst, you get that, okay, well, we ended up giving that top keep when we shouldn't have. And then all of a sudden it goes from, all right, things were going good, and now it's like, now what, right? And it's just, it felt weird. The first team fight was like, all right, we can make a play for the temple. It ended bad. But then when it came to that second team fight, it seemed like they forgot that they had been winning the entire game, and it seems like maybe nerves got to them, a little bit of anxiousness got to them, and so I'd like to see them come back. I mean, they've played a heck of the last two games. It's just a 1-2 minute window in that game, and it was over, and that's all it takes in Heroes, man. That's all it takes is one minor mistake can lead to the comeback, and then all of a sudden you're on even footing against the team like that, who's pretty dang good.
A few minor mistakes become one big mistake, and it is time to find out what the 5th Battleground will be for the series. We are going to Warhead Junction.
Dude, okay, listen, we've gone 4 games in, okay, and I hadn't looked because we have a cheat monitor here because we get to, you know, check stuff in the background. And so I hadn't looked. I would like to be surprised. I'm like, all right, I want to think on the fly. I want to see what they're going with because it gets me excited because I love these games. And I looked over this one when we were on break. I'm like, oh my goodness, we're going to Warhead. I was like, all right, I guess this is a thing now. Warhead is all kinds of crazy. All kinds of crazy.
It changes the dynamic quite a bit. The two bosses, the rampant objectives everywhere, and the power of being able to just get lots of free siege damage. Do see a lot of globals played here, and it's probably the least played map, especially in the open division. So
I don't know if have we seen it.
I don't know if we ever have. Maybe like once, but it is so incredibly uncommon because the big difference between HGC Open and HGC Pro is Open is only best of 3s. When it's a best of 5, the map variance goes up a lot more. And this is just one of the maps that, as a result of that format, doesn't see a lot of play.
Yeah, and you know, one person that I brought up in the Towers draft ended up showing up in the last draft on Sky Temple was Genji. Had pretty great effect there, something that he can stall out those nukes. He can really put pressure on. Brightwing's going to be banned. Now, if we go back not too long ago, Roll20 went and set a record for fastest game, and they did so
5 minutes?
Yeah, just over 5 minutes. They did so with the Zarya composition, or was it against the Zarya? Either way, the Zarya was in the game. You just kind of push in, right? I wonder if we might see ETC, obviously. This is one, I remember with the show match, it was about this time last year in September. They were running like all globals, right? It was like, new map, how do we play this? And ETC stage dive came out. Might see another ETC stage dive here.
They opt for the ETC first pick again. I mean, he's been the most prominent first pick in the series so far. I think it's fine. Lagif didn't have to deal with the Malthael ban. They didn't get the Garrosh ban this time. It's going to be Genji. And I think that totally makes sense, but when Malthael was in play game 1 and 2, it was devastating. They just didn't have the right responses there, and one of the responses that Imported Support often wants for that is Brightwing. So I'm a little wary that we'll see him played here. Not necessarily going to be first rotation. We do have the Rhaegar for the nice, consistent clear.
I was going to say, it will be the Tassadar.
This is just every single time that it's been first pick for Imported, it would be ETC, Rhaegar, Tass for.
Here's the thing. Okay, ETC, one part of the equation I talked about with the ETC Brightwing. This is another map that if you're a Tracer player, you love open maps. Area to work, area to get in and dive out, things like that. There's the Zarya that I talked about, but you love to get in against this. Against Zarya, it's a little bit more troublesome just because you can put that shield, but if you play around that, it's a 12-second shield for an ally shield, 8-second for personal shield. So if you can find out when that shield goes out, you have that now opportunity to hit that pulse bomb. I think we could be looking at another potential Tracer game here coming out from Lag Force.
We could, and we could actually see the Ariel ban here, and as weird as that sounds, commonly when imported drafts like this, a tank, a Zarya, and a carry, they just go 2 supports with that. Ariel is the Aware's most comfortable hero. Medic is another good ban for this situation.
The Safeguard, I talked about it in the Towers draft. Safeguard against a Pulse Bomb reduces a significant amount of damage, and that's up quite a bit, right? You've got the shield, you've got that. I'm 100% looking at Tracer right now if I'm Imported Sport. If you feel comfortable with it, you better have a really good last few picks to deal with that, else I think that will be potentially what we see coming out from Lag Force.
Garrosh respect is given as they want to put Zuna on I mean, so far drafting against Zuna hasn't really helped them. They're like, oh, we're going to make him play Muradin. Great. He did wonderful on Muradin. But they did look shaky against Garrosh in that one game we saw earlier to start out the series. So I can definitely respect that. The Tracer would come out probably now or never, really.
I would actually love to see it last pick.
Just to save it based on the support situation?
Yeah, but this situation now makes it look less likely since B-Kid generally doesn't play him. I mean, I take that back. He played some Zagara recently, and I love Zagara on this map. Love Zagara.
So does Dunk Train.
Dude, let me tell you about how much Dunk Train loves Zagara. It's like, I love Zagara 100%. He loves Zagara negative 100%. Yep. We're like opposite ends of the spectrum. But we've seen that, right? B-Kid's generally the melee, that other melee that we see over there. iDream will likely be tasked at our Biggie on Greymane, which means that we need a B-Kid here unless he's playing double Warrior again. He could be on the Anubarak. I got a feeling we might see some Zagara. Gives you a global that you don't have.
It's in the realms of possibilities. Dahaka has been left alone up to this point in time, but we already have Zarya ETC. Triple Warrior, not the best thing in the world. It's been a thing. It's been a thing before. I'm expecting the double support for them. I don't know which they'll go. Ariel seems very likely with Stukov and Illidan.
Ooh, I highly dislike a solo Stukov with an Illidan. You better hope those Zarya shields are on point.
Yeah.
But Illidan is the single best counter to a Zagara Nidus network because Hunt is there. And if you are in a long lane on a battleground and you're trying to retreat, I guarantee you that your closest retreat point, you will not live as a Zagara. So if you were afraid of the Zagara, the Illidan is a great pickup. Now what does Lag Force do? And that's what I think. Maybe obviously we know Illidan on the large global map, things like this. We haven't seen it as much lately. But Illidan's going to have to be that side soaker. And it's a stat that I pulled out. I was working with Wolf when we were in Taiwan. We were looking at what's the difference between these Illidan players. Why is Korea playing so much Illidan? They use Illidan when Hunt was still there before the nerf on the cooldown.
Yep.
They were Kyocha and Rich were averaging 110,000 siege damage per game. They used him as a side soaker and used him on occasion to come in for team fights, to help initiate, to get picks, things like that. It wasn't necessarily like, we have Illidan, we're going to be fighting the whole time. They used him as the side soaker. So I think that the Illidan pickup there, and I say the word forced, the mouth ale, but I think that might have been a Zagara pick had Illidan not been the pickup there.
It seems reasonable.
Sometimes I get excited about drafts.
No, it seems reasonable, but it's definitely questionable having Stukov as the only heal, right? Illidan needs some kind of oomph, right? He goes deep.
You spread heals by being near your allies.
Yeah.
Illidan's like,
he's the opposite.
Peace.
He's
like,
the opposite.
I'm going that way. I'll see you if I live. That's pretty much how it goes.
And yes, Zarya shields will be useful. Illidan has good self-sustain in the event. He's able to not be completely burst down. The amount of CC on top of that, I mean, Anubarak alone for isolating with Cocoon could become problematic for them as well. We could see Locust Swarm, but I expect to see Cocoon here.
Yeah, I mean, you Cocoon the Stukov, where's your backup?
You don't have
Zarya is going to be your best bet. You don't really have interrupts again. This is one thing. Anubarak is the only interrupt for a mosh pit. Again, it seems less likely. You do have the global now in Illidan, so mosh pit might be a thing if you want to contest those bosses.
True.
It will likely be stage dive, but I really think mosh pit, if you're going to be taking that one clutch team fight, it probably should and might be the pickup.
Well, game number 5 here. It's do or die time on the side of Imported Support. Warhead Junction, again, a map that we don't see them play on in tournaments. And I'm worried it's going to be a problem for them. Let's get rolling into Warhead Junction to see if Imported Support can keep themselves alive and keep the dream of becoming a professional team in HGC and dethrone Lag Force. But J-How, Lag Force is holding steady with Zuna on the Anubarak. We've got Big E playing the Greymane. It's going to be Tomster on the Rhaegar. B-Kid on Malthil, and rounding out the team is iDream.
On the right side, imported support. Will they go down or will they succeed in extending this? As we're going to see the aware on Stukov, it's going to be Swabs Magoo going to be on that split lane on Illidan, Draded on the Vala, and the hero that I am most curious about is Specialty on the Zarya, because we've seen Team Liquid run it on large battlegrounds, we've seen Roll20 use it, and if you can get that split lane soak with a Feel the Heat Zarya, where it's easy to stack up that energy, you can get some early game advantages, but Warhead is crazy as hell, and you have no idea what's ever going to happen on this map.
It is good to point out that Swabs Magoo is traditionally their Zarya player.
Agreed.
But in this situation, he is also their only Illidan player. So the way they've drafted, being afraid of that Zagara, like you likely said, going for the Illidan in the last pick, you know, Specialty often becomes one of those big carries. So many fights were won by his Cassia. Some of his fights were won by huge, impactful plays. You can still have a good impact on Zarya for sure, but it's not the same kind of presence in a team fight.
Want to talk about a mistake imported support made? They instantly decided they wanted to push mid. That's fine. You get a counter push from Lag Force top lane. Then they rotate to the bottom, so they're missing out on that early XP, Swabs Magoo going in. But here's the problem. Boss lanes, top and bottom. That's why they're prioritized by these teams. You set up a potential boss push to get more value, and if you get that free, like Lag Force is getting here in the early game, that's great. You can get some push in the bottom by imported support, but imagine if they started down here instead of pushing in that middle. You might already be in the lead. Instead, if Lag Force gets this pushed, gets this down, now they can come down and contest.
Last few shots from the fort. Going to be doing a bit of damage, but it does go down, and the banner is planted in a much, much slower attempt here in the bottom. Malphil, considering the rotation down, just the two nukes, one in top and one in bottom. Gotta be careful in that top lane, as there are still 3 members present. ETC doesn't want to push too far forward.
He doesn't, but again, with the nukes top and bottom, it further plays into, we'll probably see Lag Force stay in that lane. It's going to force one person to Hearth, because now you still have that 3-man pressure. Now you have a nuke behind it. So what do you do?
Here, and this is a situation where you can really chase for an extended period of time. Tomster and Big E in a bit of a dicey spot. Big E should go down, but the rotation is going to be there to make this much more dangerous for Swabs to stay. Looking for the retreat. Don't think he's going to be able to have it here, as he doesn't quite get past Ignition, and down he goes.
Nuke's going to go down on the opposite side for imported support. They are looking at a camp bottom left, which they'll try and push in with that nuke, try and get similar value. But again, you know, this is different. Without a Greymane, your siege potential is a little bit less. Greymane very, very strong there. A Malphil has absolutely terrible siege potential.
Yeah. Comparatively, it's
look at what they've done.
Close. They even things up a little bit. They did cast the nuke in the bottom as well, so one nuke to one nuke. Keep wall down. More or less, things have been even.
I mean,
wait
till the bosses spawn.
Yeah,
wait till the bosses spawn, and then there you go. 3 minutes. Here we go. This is when the game starts, because the way that both teams have managed to play this, the boss is now the biggest threat on both sides, and more so on the side of Lag Force. If you get that boss during the next nuke phase, and you get 1 or 2 nukes, new record.
New record.
I don't know how else to sell it. It's just
they're moving up. They're moving up. They do have the Hungering Arrow build there on Vala. This camp will be picked up, and that's going to give intel that there's 2 or 3 members in the top part of the map. They actually decide to just back away, clear up. ETC's keeping eyes on.
They're handcuffed to this lane now.
Yeah.
They are handcuffed to this lane. Like, you cannot leave this lane for the rest of the game, essentially.
Okay.
Ignition's going to be there. The rest of the team's going to come up. You're
just
forced
got
to
level
fight.
7. Yeah, all right. They at least get the disengage. They're maintaining that position of Vala, Illidan to make sure they get the camp, to push this back out and try to get some semblance of control.
I'm telling you, if we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. I mean, the whole thing is, even Greymane, his build is all about, hey, look, what if we just worked on the camps, work on the boss, work on the minions. He didn't go cocktail build. They're not looking for a team fight. He's looking to do work elsewhere.
So far, it's really looking costly to not be able to contest the bottom lane. They've given up so much XP to that Tassadar that's been pushed in, but safely soaking the XP and continuing to extend the lead forward for the side of Lag. If Zuna's going to be able to have that burrow charge away, not enough room with the silence attempted there from the Aware, and they are working on the boss. Task Malthil. In the middle of the map, there's a bunch of nukes spawning. They're going to be able to get the boss for free. How many nukes do they lose?
They should be able to obtain the top 2 nukes. That's the thing, is like, imported support by staying there, they saw the Tassadar bottom, they saw the Malthil mid, they instantly...
do they expect this?
They have a camp plus boss pushing top, and they'll have 2 nukes. I would love to see them stay here. Zuna's going to go ahead and get an interrupt at the last second and buy as much time as he possibly can for his team.
They're trying to get 3 nukes here, and this is going to be a little bit interesting as the Aware being dove upon. Hungering Arrow, the 2 of them will be shot here onto B-Kid. It's a lot of DPS. One more auto, no, the chain heal comes out to make sure the kill does not happen. Big save.
I'd say they're lucky. There's a fight. Yeah, I was gonna say there's a fight between ETC and Anubarak.
All right, with Swabs showing up, this basically means Zuna has to leave. He actually saw the Illidan, just instantly backed away.
Probably the most tense moment in the game was the first boss rotation by Lag Force, and imported support held on from there. And so the fact that they obtained that boss, and now there'll be a significant amount of time until the next boss, that is, I can't state
weight
how
off their
important
shoulders,
that
yeah,
is.
man.
Yeah, weight off their dryad shoulders.
Vala with the Hungering Air build will defend sufficiently in the bottom before losing the fort, so they do have that fort up in the top lane. Not a huge moment overall, but it does bring them closer to level 10, which they were, fairly far behind in. It is level 10 picked up right now for Lagif, and it is standard options. Going for the Cursed Bullet over go for the Throat here. Uh-oh.
Cursed Bullet hit. Took a lot of damage out of ETC, but he's got the retreat point. Their mid fort is still standing, as are the towers, so just kind of casually walk on back to safety. Cursed Bullet, however, is on a short cooldown, so getting some good value, padding stats there. That's the best way to use Cursed Bullet, by the way.
Make your numbers look really good.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of looking good, they're getting the gank here on the Specialty. Expulsion Zone going out, but his shield is down. Cocoon is down. That's going to be Specialty, but he gets the heal. The Mosh Pit's going to be there. Clean's going to go on to the Greymane. Zuna's going to receive the Ancestral Healing. Swab's Baguan team, they're on the retreat.
Malthil trying to re-engage and is getting a lot of good damage done, but with the fort, it's a bit risky to continue any further forward. Ultimately ends up being even when it comes to the resources spent more or less. Ancestral was used, the Tormented Souls was used, 1 nuke spent dropping down, 3 nukes being held right now for imported support. So if they lost that fight, it would be incrementally worse. They back up, they take a little bit of damage, no harm, no foul.
Just hit the reset button on this game as both teams will retreat to their respective sides. They'll prioritize camps or whatever it is they choose to do. And we will have our nuke phase soon. And Jake, there's only so many nukes that you can hold. You can only hold 1 per person. Imported support still holding on to 3 nukes.
It's good and bad. Once in a while, you'll see like the occasional combat nuke that gets thrown out in the middle of a fight. Typically, it doesn't really do anything other than buy your team some space. But they're eager to find that opportunity to maybe throw 1 or 2 nukes on the mid lane and get rid of that resource they're already holding on to and get some actual value out of it. Never hurts to hold on to it if you're not worried about losing a team fight, I suppose. 2 nukes on the map.
Finally got some time for a team fight now. 10-minute mark, by the way, is when the top boss will spawn. So if you're keeping an eye on that, want to keep an eye out for yourself, that is when it will come in. But as you said, 2 nukes on the map here. ETC and team, they're looking for a fight.
Posturing over the middle nuke. No one's in the bottom right now. Illidan had considered rotating up to the top. Does have the hunt, but you don't want to be forced to use it if you don't have to. He is going back up there to continue that push forward. And Malthil will get a free nuke down bottom.
Mosh Pit's up. If you can bait out a cleanse early, that'll be your best bet. As had limited opportunities last time. Dreda just continuing to poke away at iDream there on the backside there on Tassadar. They're zoning for now. They're trying to get it in, but Specialty unable to channel. And you talked about Illidan. He's now cleared that camp. The bot nuke was picked up by Malthil, so you're just kind of trading, right? But that top camp will get push value. We will have a fight here soon. Cursed Bullet is out.
Okay, good power slide, buying himself a bit of space there. Expulsion Zone locking them apart from each other, and B-Kid makes his way up on that Malthil. Swabs
Cleanse is out. Cleanse was used on that hunt. and they recognize the threat of ETC, and that is why they are backing away. They're also close to 13, so they might try and re-engage, but they have to be very careful about the mosh pit now because Cleanse is down.
They have so many nukes in their pockets, and they want to save them for a big push, a big moment to swing the game well in their favor. But they're just unable to, effectively pick this up. The Psystorm, the Anubarak, always finding the interrupt. Zuna will get it once again. Psystorm is actually there. iDream taking a lot of damage from Drayden, but the Force Wall locking him in a forward position. Zuna doesn't take the bait, but he does get a nice burrow in that forces Swabs to move forward.
He's moving forward. The expulsion zone's locking him out. The nukes are going down as well. And you can see there's the mosh pit. It's time to dance. Down comes the Rain of Vengeance. Down goes Greymane. We're going to see Zuna fall next as Anubarak goes down. That's the moment they were looking for. And Imported Support will take that team fight, and they're going to take a nuke with them.
This is what they needed. They were patient. They were patient. They were patient. They got their 13. They're going to pick up the boss, and they're going to be wielding. They got 3 nukes right now. They used 1 in the fight. So they got 3, they've replenished it, 3 nukes to push for the boss in the bottom lane, which is already open for them.
It's open. It's open. They'll rotate over. They'll grab the camp here as well, make sure they can eat a lot of that ammo. Get the maximum push that you possibly can. It's going to be up to Zarya to kind of walk in and make sure you get some energy before all that goes, but you did some damage in this lane earlier. Jake, this is what I was talking about. Minutes into the game, you'd already pushed into the bottom lane. As you said, it's already softened up. These towers are very low. We'll see if they use 1 nuke directly onto the keep to get the value, but Cocoon is out already.
They're not respecting the potential collapse on them as Malthel comes in. A good use of that arm from Stukov, and the hunt goes in, trying to find the kill. The silence is too much, and they get a Anubarak and Malthel.
Tomster is in a bad spot as Rhaegar's going to go down. That's 4 people down.
Oh, is this game, J-How?
Oh, it's hella game at this point.
Hella game.
You're going in. You got a nuke. You're going to take the keep. You're going to go directly to core with that Zarya. 2 nukes and a boss coming in. We are going to be heading to a game number 6 in just a moment. Here we go. Imported Support. Show me what you got.
Boom, boom. The shields are gone. The nukes being dropped. And the boss approaches just to be part of the camera shot. Imported Support. Keep the dream alive.
GG. If you had a parachute, what would you put on it?
A parachute?
Yeah, that one.
Like the logo?
No, like the parachute. If you had a parachute, would you put GG on it?
No.
Imported Support.
I put Misha on it. Just a big Misha parachute.
It's Rexar behind you, by the way. Can we get that? Rexar's over there.
So, Imported Support in the first Crucible, I'm going to say it again if you're just tuning in, they ended up losing to Lagif in a 4-2 situation. So, they brought it to Game 6. Now they're in that same moment where they have the chance to continue fighting. Warhead Junction was Lagif's map choice, and they took the win.
The minute Imported Support, the minute Lag Force committed to, we're going to get our soak, we're going to make sure we have Tassadar defending bot lane, we're going to keep Malthel middle. The minute that moment happened, and Imported Support, I said it in the game, and I'm saying it again now, that was the most crucial moment of the entire game, because if they give up that boss, or they don't defend that boss, they ended up taking it. At that point, they had control of the game, whether it looked like it or not, because they gave up a lot in the top. But that moment right there was the most crucial moment in the entire game. Obviously, the fights play out. They baited out the cleanse there when the hunt came in, and then that fight mid was a big thing. But if they did not defend that, or they gave up that boss, we would have been looking at potentially another 5-minute game. But I think that moment there received so much credit on the side of Imported Support to play that style of macro game, to hold that. I'm really happy that Imported Support, especially after their previous game, was able to make the right decisions this time.
Now, let's actually look at that big moment where they're waiting for the mosh pit in that game, though, because there was a lot of nice, positioning that was made by the team. They were fighting down 13-12, which is always a tough thing. But you mentioned they forced out the cleanse just moments before this, and ETC is waiting for his shining moment to find that mosh for the team. The nuke gets cast. Panic is just everywhere, and that mosh keeps 2 members in. How many kills did they get, J-How? 2 right out of the gates, as that's just too much damage. The body blocking from Condition was fantastic, and that essentially secured them the death push.
It's crazy because Tomster did everything he could there. Earth and Shield, he had the shield that went out.
Yeah.
He hit the Ancestral. It was a little early, but at that point, you're like, well, I'm doing everything I can to save your life. The recognition on that side is the music cues up. It kind of scared me a little.
Bing.